Welcome everyone to today's video. We're the DimitrovBoelee piano duo. My name is Dimitri Dimitrov.
And my name is Elvire Boelee.
And in today's video, Elvire actually had a nice idea. She wanted to talk about balancing a large program. Now, what does that exactly mean? It's very simple. Imagine you practice half an hour a day and you have only a 5-minute piece to practice. That's going to be quite straightforward, quite simple. You have one little piece and you have half an hour a day. Everything goes smoothly. Now you can also have half an hour time to practice, but have a 20-minute pieces or one piece of 20 minutes that you want to practice. Now the story changes and things become a little bit more challenging. But before we get into the video, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so, and if you watched some of our videos but you've forgotten to subscribe, because you help us grow that way. And again, like in the last video, I want to say thanks again to everybody who already subscribed to our channel and is helping us grow. Now, let's go move to Elvire, because you actually had a reason for this video.
Actually this video is a little reminder for myself, because I experienced this problem the last few weeks. I have a lot of programs to balance, and that all goes very well because I have the time to practice for that. But I want to also practice a really nice solo piece, the Carnival Scenes from Vienna by Schumann. And it's
perhaps a nice link to the piece would be nice, so they can
Yeah, sure. Richter plays it amazing. You should definitely check that out. And I will actually be recording it hopefully in a few months for you as well. So anyway, I wanted to practice that piece, and it's about a 20-minute piece. And I have about 15 minutes a day to practice it. So that definitely is a very challenging, I think, thing to do. So I was experiencing a lot of frustration, and that's what kind of led to this video, because I needed to remind myself of how to handle this and the best way to go about it. So let's dive into the first tip immediately. And that's actually one that Dimitar pointed out to me, because from a side you said to me, what did you say?
Consistency.
He said, you're not being consistent. And he was observing me from afar, and he was right. Even if I had only 15 minutes to practice, I didn't, out of frustration, because I wanted to have at least an hour to practice. And I was just frustrated that didn't work, so I didn't even take the very few time that I had to practice every single day. So that, I think, is the first step. Make sure that actually, if you do have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sit behind that piano and be consistent, because it builds up. Every day, 15 minutes, it builds up over the weeks and months.
And it doesn't matter what your excuse is for not having enough time. Sometimes it's an excuse, and sometimes it's actually that you practically really don't have time. Like in Elvire's case, because we have concerts and we have to practice a lot for the duo, and we have to record videos and so many things we have to do, the solo goes a little bit as something
less of a priority.
Less of a priority, exactly. And so that's why she wants to have a little bit less time there for solo. But what I've seen is that she also sometimes doesn't put at all that time. So of course then it's an excuse. And at some point frustration kicks in, because you aren't being consistent. At the same time you want to play more things. Well, you have to start with honesty. And so I told her this, and she's honest with herself. And then of course you try to figure out what the problem is. And one of the problems was consistency.
Yes, so Dimitar told this to me, and I'm telling it to you. I think that's also how it works. Even though we know these things, and you probably know these things, you sometimes need to be reminded. And sometimes, like in this case, emotional frustration got in the way. So our number one tip, be consistent even if you have very, very few time, because that does build. Slower perhaps than you want, but it does build.
Now, I was personally feeling very uncomfortable in a way with this video, because the video is so important, and we had to make it into just a very few points that are very clear for you, few general points. We couldn't dive into the video. What not frustrated me but made me uncomfortable in a way was that we can talk hours on this subject, because it's a subject that you discover through experience, through practicing, through making mistakes, through so many hurdles on the way. And I was like, okay, but let's give them one of the, three of the basic things that are so important. And so, yeah, I just wanted to get this out there, because I really want to talk on this subject a lot, but we'll make more videos that are connected to each of these little tips we're going to give you. One was consistency. And what I thought about was, if I had to think about a point that's really important to me when you want to balance a big program, or several pieces, one bigger piece for a shorter amount of time, is keep track of what you were doing. Keep track of what you were practicing, of what you are not practicing, of the passages that you practiced, of the passages that you didn't practice, of the sections that you worked on or you didn't have time to work on. I can't stress enough how important this is, because maybe like consistency is everything to me, but together with that, keeping track is also really tied together to being consistent. It's not any less important, if not even more, because if you don't know what you are doing, the danger is that you might keep on playing the same piece over and over again, that same beautiful section over and over again, and months after that you wouldn't be able to play your whole program or your whole piece, or it will be very unbalanced just because you didn't keep track and you don't know. You wake up tomorrow, or imagine you have to skip a day of practice because you had work or other engagements. You don't know where you finish, so you don't know where you left off, you don't know where to pick up again. But if you write things down, you'll be very clear about where you are and what you have to do next.
And we actually already made a video on this, which is called Keeping a Practice Diary. I'll link it up for you here. And I think we can, as Dimitar said, talk about these subjects that you need reminding of this. So if you were enthusiastic and you started a practice diary, you watched that video, but you stopped, I would say today is the day to start picking that up again, because even if you want to balance a small program, still you should write things down. You should absolutely write down what you're doing so that it's not in the air, so that things are clear and you can also see what's working, what's not working.
Absolutely, and I have different students that tried this with diary, and they tell me how enthusiastic they are, and then they come for the next lesson and I say like, how is it going on with the diary? Well, I stopped keeping diary, and they feel kind of ashamed and embarrassed, but you shouldn't. I mean, how many times have I done the same mistakes? How many times have I picked up something and then I stopped, and then I did it again, and then I stopped again, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and I give up, and it's just so normal. Don't feel guilty about starting and stopping with certain things, like the same as with keeping a diary. Give it a shot. Maybe after 2, 3, 4 years, you discover that it's really something very special, and that you cannot live without it, that you cannot practice without it. But that's why we need reminders. Take your time, just give it a shot. We can tell you from experience that keeping track of what you are practicing and what you're doing, writing things down, will be something that, what's the word? I don't know. Like, it will change. Let's say it will change just your playing, your progress. It will change everything about the way you're functioning with different piano pieces. So far, we have consistency, super important, without it you can't, and we have keep track of what you're doing and what you're not doing. What was our third point?
So the third point, as Dimitar mentioned, this is such a complex subject, and we can literally not only talk about it for hours, but I can also teach students this for years. I can keep on teaching them how to improve. We keep on improving and needing reminders ourselves. So that being said, our third point is efficiency. And efficiency is, well, it is literally like, don't waste time in your practice. So imagine I have 15 minutes, I have a 20-minute piece, and I know I have no time to waste. What I like to do, and what everybody I think likes to do, we kind of work that way. I like to play the beginning of the Faschungsschwank. It's so fun. It gets me in the mood. It's such a nice thing to play, and I already can play it pretty well, which makes it more motivating to play. But if I start there, that is the opposite of efficiency, because I already know that part by heart. I already can play it. There are no technical problems there. So that is the opposite. That's not what you want to do. Do that if you are in a weekend, you have an hour to practice, you happen to have a longer time to practice that day. Enjoy then. But you have your 15 minutes. Efficiency means not wasting time. Now, you can be efficient in a lot of different ways, but I'll give you one of my favorite examples. I'll go get the score for you, just a second. So I've got the score here in front of me, and one of my favorite things to do is, instead of playing it through, which will cost you precious time, is I like to scan it through really quickly with my eyes. So I'm scanning through, and I'm seeing no problems. I don't have any problems here. have a slight balancing problem here, but I'm gonna look for something that I really have trouble with. I have trouble here on the 5th page with the jumps. That means that in, I don't know, 10 seconds, I already skipped 4 pages. If I would have played this through, that would have taken me at least 5 minutes. Not to mention I would have gotten distracted along the way, of course. But these are like, I scan through and I think about high priority things that I'm really not able to play.
I didn't have any problems to here.
You didn't have any problems. Maybe because you didn't play the piece.
I played it.
Yeah, well, a long time ago, right?
Without problems.
Without problems, yeah. So here, I'm really scanning for high priority problems because I can focus on musical phrasing, I can focus on I can find basically a problem anywhere, but I'm really focusing on high priority problems.
I just wanted to tell them something. If you are not sure and if this is like for you, oh my god, I have so many problems, just go with the most obvious, like exactly like you say, high priority. The most obvious, you always know a place that's really difficult and you always struggle with. Just mark while you're practicing, mark a few of those, you will know them. Everybody knows what's the most difficult for them.
Absolutely, and I think marking is a really great idea because sometimes you also forget where are the problems. Now I call this a high priority problem because I am unable to make my jumps here. So I find that a much higher priority for me to jump towards the completely wrong note. Find that a much higher priority than if the balance is slightly not the way I want it. So that's what I mean with a high priority problem. So I basically just saved 5 minutes of my practice by scanning through the score just by eye, and I'm going to start right there on my highest priority problem. After I finish practicing that for say 5 minutes, I have 10 minutes left in my practice, I'm going to continue scanning until I find again a high priority problem. So that is one of my favorite examples from being efficient, but you can think of other examples. So think, is there anything I do that kind of is not completely necessary? Like I mentioned with the beginning, I love playing through the beginning, but that is the opposite of efficiency. So our third point would be efficient in your practice. Cut time where you can. And especially in those days that you have very, very few time, for example, give this what I mentioned a try, or find your own way to be efficient with your practice.
Yeah, I absolutely love this point because I'm a very big fan of achieving as much as possible with as few possible time, which means that you know what you're doing, it means that you are doing the right things and you progress very quickly. And having results, accomplishing results, to me was always very important, not just sitting behind the piano and hoping for some kind of results. So I like efficiency is very, very important, and it's very much connected to keeping track. And so if you can combine those two things, you really will be able to balance bigger program, many more pieces or longer pieces within the time that you're practicing. Anyway, I think that's this for now would be enough. We tried very hard not to dive into, for me it was very difficult not to dive into this subject deeper and deeper and expand and talk about different things. But yeah, if any questions come up, if you have anything now that's on your mind and that you want to ask, you can do that, of course. Like with our other videos, if you want to send us your playing, you can also do that. At some point we'll start doing this with videos of you playing and us giving comments. We'll do that as well. Follow us, join us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're using. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel again. Thank you in advance. You help us grow this way. Don't forget to like the video. For us, recording this video for you was a great pleasure as always. We hope that you enjoyed the video and we will see you next week.